sexual practices in Angola, and ways they maltreat their women. In the heart of southern Africa lies Angola, a country rich in culture and natural resources. Angola's largest and capital city is Luanda. Angola is a land of stark contrasts where the rugged beauty of the African landscape meets the harsh realities of a nation still healing from the scars of war and colonialism. From the sun-drenched savannas of the south to the lush rainforests of the North, Angola is a country of breathtaking diversity and untapped potential. But beneath its captivating surface, Angola conceals a complex web of challenges and contradictions that have shaped the lives of its people and the fate of the nation. However, beneath its vibrant surface, Angola conceals a darker reality. This introduces a sense of tension and foreboding, hinting that there is more to Angola than its outward appearance. The country's sexual practices and treatment of women are marred by inequality, violence, and exploitation. This exposé delves into the disturbing realities of Angola's sexual landscape and the ways in which women are maltreated, which emphasizes the in-depth nature of the discussion, promising a thorough examination of the issues at hand. Some sexual practices in Angola include one-child marriage is a significant concern in Angola, with 30% of girls married off before the age of 18 and 8% married before they turn 15. This issue is deeply rooted in the country's cultural, social, and economic context. The prevalence of child marriage varies across different regions of Angola. In 2016, the highest rates of child marriage were reported in the provinces of Lunda Sul, 55.1%, Mexico 53.7%, and Bengala 49.1%. Several factors contribute to the high rates of child marriage in Angola, but the major cause is poverty. Many families in Angola live in poverty, and child marriage is often seen as a way to reduce the economic burden on the family. Girls who do not have access to education are more likely to be married off at a young age. Child marriage is often seen as a cultural and social norm in Angola, particularly in rural areas. Girls who are married off at a young age are often forced to drop out of school and are limited in their economic opportunities. Taku. Sexual violence is a significant concern in Angola, with high rates of rape, domestic violence, and other forms of sexual abuse. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, 1 in 5 women in Angola has experienced physical or sexual violence. Rape is a common form of sexual violence in Angola, with many cases going unreported. Domestic violence is widespread in Angola, with women often experiencing physical, emotional, and sexual abuse at the hands of their partners. Child sexual abuse is a significant concern in Angola, with many children experiencing sexual abuse at the hands of family members, teachers, or other trusted adults. Women and girls in Angola are vulnerable to sexual exploitation, particularly in the context of prostitution and human trafficking. Many cases of sexual violence go unreported in Angola due to factors such as fear of stigma, lack of trust in the justice system, and limited access to support services. Angola's patriarchal culture often perpetuates attitudes and behaviors that contribute to sexual violence. Poverty and inequality can increase vulnerability to sexual violence, particularly among women and girls. Angola's history of conflict and displacement has contributed to a culture of violence and impunity. Limited education and awareness about sexual violence can contribute to a lack of reporting and a culture of silence. 3. Prostitution. Prostitution is a complex and sensitive issue. In Angola, prostitution is widespread in Angola, particularly in urban areas like Luanda. Poverty, lack of education, and unemployment are some of the factors that contribute to prostitution in Angola Street. Prostitution brothels and online prostitution are common forms of prostitution in Angola. Women and girls are the most vulnerable to prostitution, often being forced into it by traffickers or exploitative partners. Prostitution increases the risk of HIV/AIDS transmission, with sex workers being disproportionately affected. Prostitution is not explicitly prohibited by law in Angola, but related activities like pimping and trafficking are criminalized. The Angolan government and civil society organizations are working to address prostitution, including providing support services for sex workers and combating human trafficking. Let's delve into how women are maltreated in Angola. One, gender inequality is a significant concern in Angola, with women facing various forms of discrimination and inequality in different areas of life. Girls' education is limited, particularly in rural areas. The literacy rate for women is 60.7%, compared to 82.4% for men. Women's participation in the workforce is limited, and they often earn lower wages than men. Women make up only 34.6% of the formal workforce. Women's representation in politics is low, with only 24.6% of parliamentary seats held by women. Women have limited access to healthcare, particularly in rural areas. The maternal mortality rate is high, with 477 deaths per 100,000 live births. Women are vulnerable to violence, including domestic violence and sexual violence. 24.7% of women reported experiencing physical and/or sexual violence by a current or former intimate partner. Angola's patriarchal culture perpetuates attitudes and behaviors that contribute to gender inequality. Women's limited access to education and economic opportunities perpetuates their dependence on men. Women's limited representation and participation in politics and decision-making processes perpetuates their exclusion. Human trafficking in Angola is a significant concern with the country, serving as both a source and destination for victims of human trafficking. Trafficking in Angola includes sex trafficking, forced labor, and child trafficking. Women and children are the most vulnerable to trafficking in Angola, with many being forced into prostitution, domestic servitude, or forced labor. Traffickers often use Angola as a transit point for victims being trafficked from other countries in the region, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, Namibia, South Africa, and other Africa countries. Internal trafficking is also a significant problem in Angola, with victims being trafficked from rural areas to urban centers like Luanda. Poverty, lack of education, and unemployment are some of the factors that contribute to trafficking in Angola. The Angolan government has taken steps to combat trafficking, including the adoption of anti-trafficking legislation and the establishment of a national anti-trafficking task force. As we conclude this expose, we are left with a haunting question. What is the true cost of a society that tolerates the exploitation and abuse of its women? The answer lies in the tears of a young girl forced into marriage, the screams of a woman brutalized by her partner, and the silence of a nation that turns a blind eye to its daughter's suffering. It is time for Angola to break the silence and shatter the chains of oppression. Angola's sexual practices and maltreatment of women are a stark reminder of the country's deeply ingrained gender inequality. Women and girls are subjected to a range of abuses, from domestic violence to sexual exploitation. To address these issues, Angola must confront its patriarchal culture, improve access to education and healthcare, and strengthen laws and policies that protect women's rights. Only then can Angola begin to dismantle the systems of oppression that have held women back for far too long. Thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more.